So let's switch gears now and talk about the breaking news that we began our hour with, which is that the FDA has just given its full approval to the Pfizer vaccine. That happening just moments ago. John, I'll begin with you. The former president held a rally in Alabama. He said he urged the crowd to get their shots. He got booed. Is this move by the FDA going to be the thing that convinces people that don't want to get a vaccine to get a vaccine?
I don't think it'll be enough. I think whether you talk about Republicans or Democrats, because there's millions of Americans across the political spectrum that have doubts about the vaccine, the fact that it was experimental, the fact that there wasn't enough data, that the anecdotes that they're hearing in terms of breakthrough infections and things of that nature, and the fact that, let's be honest, at no other time generally, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, that actually put Black people first. And here it is, this experimental drug during the pandemic that was released. So I don't think, whether you're Black or someone from the rural areas or suburban areas, I don't think you're going to be able to quickly get over your concerns just because the FDA released an approval. I think there'll still be some residual hesitancy. And then, it's at a time where, the president is trying to push booster shots. So people are not only have a hesitancy to take the vaccine. Now, on top of that, it looks as though you'll actually have to get an annual booster shot. So I think people will still hold on to their concerns and fears.
Bofta, 70 doctors walked out of the hospitals in West Palm Beach this morning in protesting people who won't get their shots. If not full FDA approval, if not the fact that 169 million Americans now have a COVID shot and a series of COVID shots, what will it take?
I think there's going to be, and we talked about how there'll probably be a portion of the population that won't get vaccinated no matter what messaging is done, no matter if their friend unfortunately and tragically passes away or their other loved ones, whether it is fully FDA approved or not, whether there's a booster shot. There's just going to be a segment of the population that's not buying into this. And you brought up former President Trump speaking and getting booed. Well, he's partially to blame for the divisiveness when it comes to the vaccine and not trusting our CDC, not trusting officials and spreading that, and how quickly he pivoted to then say, well, you can do whatever you want. So he, in typical Trump fashion, kind of did that dance where he said, hey, I recommend you get the vaccine. When they booed, he flipped and said, well, but freedom is important too, and I'm paraphrasing here. And so, could he have been more definitive in his statement? I think that would have been a bit stronger. I think it's a bit too little too late after being so divisive over the several months when this was heating up, even last year in 2020. And so, Dow, I think there is a portion of the population that already bought into that messaging, and it's going to be very difficult for them to turn around. And we've seen the stories. How many stories do we need to see of a loved one passing away by their bedside, not being able to FaceTime in those final moments, wanting the vaccine, and still, it didn't matter for the other person who was in the room. You're not going to give me the vaccine, are you? You're not going to give me the vaccine. Telling nurses that after seeing somebody die. And so I think there's just going to be a portion that won't do it. This might tilt a few folks, but yes.
Jesse, 30 seconds left, but the problem is, among a lot of people, John included, involves the phrase Operation Warp Speed. This was the Trump administration's effort to get the vaccines out quickly, but now conservatives are using that against him, saying too fast, too fast.
Well, I mean, there are, like you've heard before, there are always going to be people who are not going to take the vaccine. There are still people who don't take a measles vaccine or a flu vaccine. That's their right. But what this approval by the FDA does, it gives governments, companies, and schools a way to say you are required to take it if you want to be here. If you want to be in the military, you're going to take it. If you want to go into or work at a Walmart, they might make you take it. If you're going to work for Disney, they're going to make you take it. If you work for the federal government or state government or town government, they're going to make you take it. This gives them a bit of cover in their vaccine mandates So just like we saw in the past where people would not want their children to be vaccinated and they would have to homeschool, now you're going to see a lot of American society begin mandating these vaccines. And for those who don't want the vaccine, they'll have to find another place to shop, another place to work, another place to socialize. That's what this approval really does.
John, this was your guy. This was the Republicans' guy. This was his vaccine. This was Operation Warp Speed. COVID-19, the vaccine, was 20 years in the making. It began at SARS-CoV-2. Why don't Republicans do a pat on the back and say, hey, look what we did. We're going to save lives. Get your shots.
Well, you know, part of the hesitancy is, again, what I said before in terms of, you know, the Democrats saying we're going to put black people or people of color first, right, for an experimental drug. And I think
they didn't say that, John.
Yes, they did.
They did not say that, John. They said vulnerable populations first. People with underlying conditions. If they happen to be black, white, or purple, so be it.
They also said we are going to put disenfranchised communities first.
No, they did not.
Well, let me
they
finish.
said that people with compromised. No, wait a minute. I'm not going to let you put out misinformation, John. They didn't say disenfranchised, John.
With the videos, and I'll tag you in it. Let me finish speaking. Secondly, President Biden and Vice President Harris and others on the left, right, demonize President Trump, saying that if Trump says I should take the vaccine, I wouldn't take it, right? So a lot of people on the left, blacks included, heard that rhetoric for several months. Then when they won the election and actually was sworn in, then they said, okay, I want you to take the vaccine. That miscommunication, and then saying we're going to put black people and disenfranchised people and priority people at the front of the line, I think that caused a lot of hesitancy.
John, I'm going to have a medical expert on. I'm going to have a medical expert on, John. I'm going to have a medical expert on a little later in this broadcast, and I guarantee you he will tell you they never use the phrase disenfranchised people. They said people with compromised immune systems, and a disease does not know a color, John, and it does not know a political party. John, Jesse, Bofta, John, Jesse, Bofta, thanks for being with us. More when D.C. Today returns. Stay tuned.